Thank you for joining me this evening. I am Hilary. For those that don't know, I'm Hilary and I am the founder of event management company and speaker bureau, The Brand Activators. So as part of what I do, which is to organise events on behalf of clients, I also have a number of speakers in the speaker bureau, and I also do some speaker coaching as well on the side, really. So I started the group up not very long ago, about a month, maybe a month, a little bit longer ago, and just reached out to see if there were any people out there who I would say are experts. I think you are all experts before you are a speaker. I say a speaker is just the vehicle that you use to deliver your content. So I just put a note out to say, is anybody interested in getting together to see if we can help and support and develop what you are doing to find you more stages and to help you with that process for people that are looking to get into doing more delivery and talks, and really developing a bit of a product suite as well, courses, masterminds, workshops, those types of things. So what we're talking about tonight, and for some reason I'm leading this because I thought it was a good idea at the time, is how to get paid as a speaker. So I come across this an awful lot, as you can imagine, because I obviously represent a number of speakers and we talk about fees a lot, and we do an awful lot of negotiation with clients. Definitely in this current environment and in this current climate, there's been so much conversation around fees. So I think we'll just start, if it's all right, just by getting a show of hands, just so I can understand. If you can unblacken yourself or whatever, put your pictures up, that would be great. Just get a show of hands, really, just to see who gets paid at the moment, who's regularly getting fees for speaking.
Used to be regular and it's suddenly become a tiny bit irregular, but yeah.
Yes, yeah, oh, absolutely, yeah, totally take that into consideration. Yeah, on the 23rd of March, literally, our books just cleared of all work, all events that we were in motion of delivering, and speaker work as well. So yeah, I definitely hear your pain and I'm there with you.
So it wasn't just me that happened to.
Yeah, don't take it to heart, it wasn't personal. Okay, so when I'm looking at fees and speakers and experts and running this as a business, I work with speakers to get them to think about it like a business rather than a sort of sideline. And that's quite how often it starts, as a sideline. So I'd like to work it in a sort of, and bear with me because I've got some notes that I'm just going to keep on track, or otherwise I'll be off on a tangent. There are 4 areas that I concentrate on when I work with speakers to help them leverage better fees, or fees in the first place. So it's called the RVIP program that I run, and there are 4 elements to it. So we look at research, we look at visibility, we look at identifying area, and we look at pitching. So I'm quite happy to cover those areas off tonight, but I would like it to be quite interactive, if that's all right. Just so that we can, you can all chip in and get something from this, rather just sitting listening to me thinking, surely it's wine time now, isn't it? What are we doing? That's all right. How does that sound?
Yeah.
Yeah? Like a plan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay. So let's talk about research. A lot of people that I work with, they know what they want to say. They know what they want to deliver in terms of an outcome. But
sorry, that's
all right.
Sorry.
The
You can
dog
mute
knows
yourself
what it
if you
wants
want.
to say. Yeah.
Yourself for a while. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah, so they know what they want to say. They know what their outcome is, yet they haven't defined their ideal client, and they haven't niched that down enough. You are far, far better to be let me get this right, a big fish in a little pond. I've said that right, haven't I? Yes.
Excuse me a minute. Bye.
Yeah, it's okay. So it's so important to niche down as much as you can so that your ideal client is really small. You don't need to be everything to everybody. And I see it so often where speakers experts will get calls for speaking jobs that don't necessarily fit their avatar. And they'll spend so much time going off on a tangent that the tangent then seems to take them off in another course by default. And it's far better to stay really clear about who you serve and what it is that makes you memorable and unique to that audience. So with that in mind, I wanted to know what it is that you speak about or want to speak about that makes you memorable or unique, because it's those things that you get remembered for. So over to you guys. Anybody?
I can go. Hi,
Tanya.
my name is Tanya Mishra, and I usually speak about artificial intelligence and creating early opportunity pipelines to get more people into the tech and AI workforce.
Fantastic. What is it that you think that you do that stands out from anybody else working in the same space that you are?
So I am a machine learning researcher, but what I've done for 10 years is I have mentored, at this point, probably hundreds of young people who are not usually represented in the AI tech workforce. So women, people of color, young people, older people, basically people who don't look like the, people you envision wearing hoodies, white or Asian men, young men. So I have mentored, lots and lots of people like that to be part of the tech workforce. And it has always been my passion. And so it nicely flows with my area of technical expertise.
Brilliant. And do you see yourself as standing out in that area? Are you seeing yourself as being chosen to deliver on your content because of the backstory that you've got there?
I get a lot of asks to come speak to audiences. I used to do primarily just technical talks, but now I do both kind of a thought leadership as well as technical talks. But I have never gotten paid other than an honorarium to do talks, and I do several a month.
Who are you talking to? Is it education? Is it corporate?
It is education and corporate, because I'm an industrial research scientist. So I'm speaking usually to audiences that are made up of people from organizations, like companies, but also universities. I also speak at universities. I work very closely with a lot of universities in the Boston and New York area.
So are you niching your talk? Are you niching down on what you're doing, keeping that quite tailored?
Yes, I have a pretty pointed message at this point that I repeatedly talk to people about.
Okay. Are you asking for the sale when you're asked to speak? Or
I don't know
what
you mean.
So
Sorry.
When you're invited to speak, do the people that are approaching you, are they saying from the off that there are no fees for this? Or are you just assuming there's no fees, so you're not asking and they're not willingly giving?
I have never asked. And
right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's maybe one area we can look at then. Just turning that back so that when you are invited to speak, that you have got some content that you can go back with to them, which includes details of your fee. And then, once you get into conversation and dialogue, there's a lot of people that feel really uncomfortable raising the question of fees, and that's why they quite like a bureau to work with them that will handle that for them. But once you've got into a conversation with your potential client and you're talking about what you can deliver and the value of that, you can talk about your fee, and they will either say to you that they haven't got the fee, or okay, that's less than I thought, that's more than I thought. You know, the conversation will start. So don't fear that. But think about, when you get into the conversation, you need to then sell yourself. I know they've approached you and you're interested in them, but think about how you now turn that into, you're selling yourself. So you're see yourself as a business product, and you're in this, you know, to be paid. So do push for that.
Okay.
That's my advice. Does anybody else have that when if they're being approached and there's no conversation about the money? What happens? Or is it from the offer you're just told there's no fee? Would you still like to speak? No comment.
Go, if you like.
Yeah, go for it.
Hi.
Thanks.
Hello, I'm Tim.
Hi, Tim.
So I get a bit of both, really. So I get paid currently for half of the speaking arrangements, I would say, at a variety of cost. Like, there's not a set fee that I charge for myself. It depends on what they offer. But on the free ones, I'll associate it with how good a marketing opportunity is that.
Absolutely.
Like what the because I don't mind speaking for free. I quite like it, as long as the room's a good bunch of people, or it's for a cause or a purpose that I'm aligned with. That it's good to be, you know, to be associated with, from a credibility perspective. Like, I do a lot of, well, pre-COVID, obviously, I was on the circuit of the Santander Business Breakthrough events. So went around a lot of I'm in the middle of the country, in the Midlands. So I went round everywhere from Milton Keynes to Sheffield, in the middle, all the branches, and they used to do events for all their business banking customers, which were all right.
Yeah.
But it depends. I think you've got to evaluate each one on its merit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I tell you what, showcases, let's call them showcases rather than free events. I know they call them showcases in the PSA, so we'll stick with that. They are a brilliant opportunity for you to market yourself, to get in front of the right client, to be able to put the right badge on your marketing of that brand, of that logo, to get that testimonial, to get the footage for your show reel, to get the feedback. They're absolutely brilliant. But where you're approached to be a speaker and you're not getting paid because you're not delving deep and just asking for it and having a series of rates, that's where you're missing out, because you're still delivering amazing content. You're still going to get the logo. You're still going to get the feedback. You're still going to be able to use it on your testimonial. The only thing that you've not done is just stepped into okay, let's talk about fees. If you were selling a product, you would have said, oh, and it's this much, and you would have built it into your pitch. It would just be part of the strategy. But when we're selling ourselves, it just feels a bit icky. And unless they say, oh, and by the way, the fee is, and quite often they're waiting for you to say. And many times they're expecting more than you're going to say. So it's really something to think about, how you, how we take that forward and say, right, okay, this is what I do. This is my keynote. If it's the keynote, this is the signature talk, and this is the masterclass. This price for this price for this price for this. And once you start using that, you'll just see how that just flows off your tongue once you get into it. And that's one of the biggest things that holds speakers back from being paid, is that they just don't ask for it. So do think about that. And certainly, Tim, some of the organizations that you mentioned there, like Santander and stuff like that, they do have budgets for speaking. They absolutely do. So they'll get away with what they can in their local teams. But certainly they do have bigger budgets as well. And it's great to give, don't get me wrong, it's great to give. And the true trick is figuring out which is the great showcases and which is a Mr. Trick. And I didn't ask for the fee on that. Yeah.
I think like I say, I've never. I remember last year, I think, was my first paid speaking gig, and they offered, and I was like, "Oh, all right," because I would have done it anyway. Mm-hmm. I would have spoken anyway. Usually, like, some costs do the travel and stuff,
Yeah,
but
expenses.
actual paid speaking gig was a thing, and I thought, well, that, you know, I'd like to do more of that. So, but I don't know if there's a going rate or a going like I have no for a guy who does strategy and a lot of that kind of work, I don't really have a strategy about speaking. I just like doing it, and then I need a bit of firming of it.
Yes,
You
yeah.
know, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get you. I get
You
you.
certainly want to remember that, you know, the person who's contacted you from Santander Bank, are they being paid or are they doing it on the same basis as you? And if you think of the people who are attracted to the events, they may be individual business people, but are they effectively being paid? So it's perfectly reasonable for you to bring your strategy expertise and other things to that. And Hilary will be an expert on the rates, so I'm sure she can put you on the right track there.
Oh God, I love this bit. So
That's called a
you're so
hospital
right.
pass in rugby, Hilary, just in case. You
I've got broad shoulders, don't you worry. Yeah, you're so right. You shouldn't be working for free. That's it, really. You shouldn't be working for free. Opportunities are great, and you've got to get really on the nail with what is an opportunity showcase and what somebody just not paying you. And as I say, think of what you do as products. You're giving products, you're giving value, you're giving outcome, you're giving a change, you're giving leadership techniques. Right across the board, you're making change, and that's what you do as speakers. You add value to people, so you need to be adding value to yourself. So, you know, speakers. This is my opinion. Speakers who want to be paid for speaking, I think, really need to be around a starting figure of about £1,500 and nothing less. Otherwise, do it for free. Build your repertoire, build the experience, get some brands behind you, get yourself out there, showcase. I think that should be your starting point. But I'll caveat that by saying, to me, it's not just about going on that stage for 45 minutes or talking to that group of CEOs in that small tight group for 45 minutes. It's about the added value that you can give. That's really important in my mind. Don't just think of it as a quick, I'm going to get in there, deliver what I always deliver and get out. You've got to give such good value to the client beforehand so that we know exactly what their objectives are, what is really relevant to them at the moment, what are their pain points, why is it they need you in there, and what is it that they're looking for you to be able to deliver on, because they're booking you because they want an outcome. They want you to solve some type of problem, whether that's motivation, whether or not that's a tech situation, whatever that is, they're looking for you to come in as almost like a consultant and deliver that to their people or to their senior team. So it's far more than just that keynote. Do you see that? You need to be thinking around that. And then to be able to scale as a paid speaker, it's just about experience. The more experience you get, the better you get with the outcomes that you're achieving. And it's all about the levels you achieve. The more you speak, the more you get known, the more you get seen as an expert, the more people you begin to associate with. Are you seen as an expert by the experts? Are you seen as an expert with your peers? And that's the other phase of what we talk about. We look at visibility and your visibility of how you're growing your own personal profile, because that's the thing that sells you. You know, if you have a book out there, published book, you are seen as an expert because you have the book to back up the knowledge. So you need to have all that internal content, if you like. You might not just have it as a book yet, but I'm sure you've got it internally. But you need to be recognized as an expert to start growing yourself up the financial ratings of the speakers, and that's how it works.
Thank you.
Is that helpful, or is that completely put you off?
No. It's stuff like like I know I've got, like I do a bunch of stuff around like personal branding with leaders and stuff as well. So I know that it's just making that that transition into not doing client work, because I've had enough of client work now, if I'm honest.
So-
Into more speaking and teaching. So I get paid for lecturing. I'm an entrepreneur in residence, and I get paid to deliver workshops and masterclasses, and I'm on a few. Most money comes from doing talks to leadership groups, like mastermind groups and stuff. You know,
Yeah.
like 10, 20 people. And I had a few conferences this year, but obviously they've moved again to 2021.
Yeah.
I'd just like to get over the tipping point and doing all right, just to push on to the next level where it
Yeah.
can be.
So you need to be looking at what makes you different. Back to that piece before, what makes you different from other people in your field who would also be looking for those conference jobs, those speaker jobs, that consistency that you are. You need to identify there, Tim, what it is that you do, and that might be some type of signature program, for instance, something like I've designed on a much smaller scale, but I wanted to. There's loads of speaker coaches out there, but what is it that I can do that makes me different, or what's the VIP thing that I've got within what I offer? You need to build those offerings in as you're developing your speaker work, because they do come hand in hand. And being paid to be a speaker is also, you get paid to be a speaker because of the other products that you've brought in off the back of your speaking. So you might think you don't get paid much for speaking, but actually the other products that you've developed are all part of that product line.
Yeah.
So I think you've got a great opportunity there. You just really need to distinguish how you stand out and niche in your area to do that, because you've clearly got product line there. And I look forward to seeing the book.
Yeah. I'll get on that, shall I?
Yeah. Same time next week, we'll be checking in. That's why you don't want to work with me. Okay. Anybody else? Anybody got any other thoughts on that?
What subjects or what areas are you asked to find speakers for?
Oh, good question. It's across the board. Inspirational stuff's always really popular.
But what does that mean?
Oh God, that can mean, anything, depending on the client really, and what they're looking for and who they're wanting you to connect with from a team's point of view, or personal point of view. So it could be, people who have been in sports and have achieved, a lot through sport, put themselves through a lot, can talk about team as well. There's a lot of that. We get a lot to do with marketing under the broad umbrella of marketing. So, we've got to break that right down to find out what type of marketing it is that people are wanting. Sales is always popular. But we're finding that people are thinking about sales in a different way now as well. So they're thinking about how they motivate a team rather than how they try and teach a team.
Yeah,
more
anybody who's ever
softly
been in sales
skills.
wants to talk about sales, don't they?
Exactly. Yeah. So there's a lot on
that's, I think to some extent, I have two challenges. One is I don't understand, and I've never booked a speaker, so I don't actually understand what that kind of back end of it, if you want.
Okay.
What motivates somebody to book and who does. But from a sales perspective, then, as I say, anybody who's stood up and done a presentation for sales wants to talk about sales, and most of them talk nonsense, or they actually talk about things that don't relate. So it's there's a scheme, there's a process, there's all these things that they'll go through, but it doesn't relating it to the audience or relating it to the people just isn't done. And I sometimes sit cringing because they're just peddling the same things using slightly different words over and over and over again. And one of the difficulties, of course, is that it ain't changed for 1,000 years, but people do it in different ways, and people are more comfortable doing it in different ways.
Totally.
I've spent 30 years in the IT channel, so I actually know quite a bit about how it works and where it goes. So, I've always seen an opportunity with vendors or sort of conferences, but never quite known where to go within that to find the right person to be able to position myself.
Yeah. Do you have do you have an ideal client in mind?
I don't really,
rather than just say, you've got a niche. It would be so much easier.
Yeah, my biggest problem, and I've been a member of the PSA for, I don't know now, actually 3 or 4 years, and I always ask the same question. It's actually assessing the value of what I do. And because I tend to be a little bit like a butterfly, so I like doing lots of different things, which is kind of completely opposite to what I tell other people they should be doing.
Yeah.
But it's narrowing that down so there is something, that is narrow and unique, that in some respects that I want to do. But so Anthony when he did this thing last week, Anthony's narrowed his down to using the telephone. Yeah. Essentially. So, his whole thing is based around using the telephone, nothing else, nothing broader. Yeah. And that's what he does, and that's what he's known for.
And that's what people want.
Well, and that presents a challenge to me, because I'm not entirely sure that's what I want.
Right, okay.
But at the same time, it's actually getting in my head the value of because I know it. It has no value to me.
Yeah, exactly.
So when I'm talking to people, I know it. A lot of it is second nature, and therefore it has no value to me. Therefore, I find it quite difficult, very difficult, to establish what that is worth and then position that with somebody in terms of what it's worth. And given that I've sold things for a living, this is, it's kind of, it's a conundrum for me, and I go round it, and I get different answers from different people, but nobody's ever given me the answer that I can go, that's it. That.
You feel like you're on a busman's holiday, don't you?
A little bit.
So if I can just ask Phil here, because Phil's sitting here quite quietly. Are you not, Phil? So I'm going to mention a speaker that we've both worked with. So Caspar Craven. All right, Phil? Yeah, he's nodding at me. Good. Okay. So Caspar is a speaker on my bureau, and I came across Caspar a couple of years ago now, when he had been sailing around the world for 3 years with his wife and 3 young children, 4 young children actually, one of them being a baby. And there you go.
God, look.
Phil's there with the book. It's like we planned this. We didn't. I'm going to say we didn't. Anyway, so I knew when I met Caspar that he had a fantastic story to tell of the highs and the lows and the drama that they went through, as you can imagine, on their boat throughout those 3 years. And sure enough, he was able to put together a great story. He wrote a book on the back of it. He got a lot of media and press attention, which was absolutely terrific. And off Caspar went for the next 1.5 years, or maybe 2 years actually, getting around the speaker circuit, sharing his story. It was about, I think, this time last year, or it might have been around that time, Phil put me right, that Caspar was starting to think, actually, is this the story? This story is going to start getting a bit dated and a bit old. So I really need to think now, is this what I'm going to continue to develop going forward? Is this the product that potentially I can have offshoot products from as well, and really create a brand for that in its own right? And it was at that point, I think, that Phil and Caspar met. Phil, are you still with me?
Yes, I'm still with you.
And since then, Caspar has had a complete rebrand. He has a brand new book out. I know that because it arrived. He's in the speaker bureau. It arrived the other day, and it is called Being Human, Growing.
Be more human.
Be more human. Thank you very much. And now he has opened up a new business opportunity for himself. It has taken him some time to get there, hasn't it, Phil? And he's had a rebrand and a lot of rethinking and that type of thing. But he was very aware that what he had at the time maybe wasn't. His story's always going to be there, and there'll always be people wanting to hear it. But he knew he needed to up-level that now. So, Phil, I don't know if you just want to add something to that, or have I just
Yeah, I mean, it's broadly the picture. I mean, you and I haven't had a talk yet. I said I would fill you in some more details and everything, but yeah, I
Yeah,
met Casper at the end of January, and he was referred to me by another speaker in your group, if you remember, Penny
Penny.
Mallory.
yeah,
I'd done Penny Mallory's motivational speaker branding for her and relaunched her, and I'd just done another job with her again. And she had said to Casper, you should have a chat with Phil. And yeah, I made the observation that the book was the story of his adventure, but
Yeah.
that's not what it needs to be out there. He's got to take the learnings from that adventure and turn it into a story to business. And I actually said, write the book. So I've actually been working with them on it for
all right.
every word in there I've gone through 50 times with them. So that's, yeah, it was about you knew, and we repositioned them away from leadership. We actually, what we actually did was we said, no, you've got to have a niche. You can't be the leadership, the results, the resilience, the teamwork specialist. It's too much. So what are you going to own? And long story short, he's now the high performance teamwork specialist. And now you got to write the book. So there's the book, which is rethinking the rules of high performance teamwork. That's what it's all about.
And we can all do that. Thanks, Phil.
Yeah.
And we can all do that. So we can all think about, actually, we've got this great amount of knowledge, but how can we reposition that to give ourselves that niche that was talking about in the beginning? How can we be, think out of the box a little bit here, and what is it that we can give that's different, but it's using our knowledge? Because his knowledge is the same. He's just reprofiled it.
If I may say, you see, the problem is, and I mean, we've had Tim talking about it, we've had Paul talking about it, you don't necessarily see your own value. You don't see the wood for the trees. You're too close to yourself. And that's why I can help businesses and people and whatever by, I can actually see the value. They take it for granted. Paul, you touched on that. Yeah. They don't see the value. I don't see the value in what I do. And people go, oh my God, Phil. And I thought, what? I do this every day. I've done this for 45 years. Why are you so excited? But the simple reason is we don't often see our own value. And sometimes we're actually going down the wrong way. And you're going to say, no, actually, that's not what you are. This is what you should be. This is the opportunity. And that's really important. You can't do it yourself. You cannot do it yourself.
Yeah.
Hilary, can I ask a question?
Of course you can.
When you talk about niching, are you talking about the way Paul mentioned Anthony Steers focusing only on the phone from a sales perspective, or are you talking about niching in terms of industries or markets, or a combination of both?
Both. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think we try really hard to be everything to everybody in the fact of just trying to get the sale, and it's the biggest mistake that we can make. It really is. And the speakers at niche by far have the best businesses, the best speaking businesses by far. And I know we've spoken about him loads, but look at Jeff Ram. He stayed true to the OMG, to standing out from the crowd as he does with the all the talks that he does, and he really does, and he's just stuck with that. And he could say he's a marketeer, and that's what he was. When he first started speaking, that's when I knew him many years ago. But he's really carved out his niche, and he's known for it. He's absolutely, that's what people know.
Another spin on what I mean by niche. It's the territory you want to own. It's the territory you can own. It's what you're best at. It's where your passion is. It's where you actually deliver the best value. So you can do that, you can do that, you can do that, you can do that. But which one do you want to own? Which do you want to be the go-to brand in? That's what it's all about. And that's what branding's all about. What territory do you want to own? And
I work with speakers that have like, I just don't want to do that. I'm going to cut myself off short. And I'm like, no, do it. Do it, because then you are focused. Because it's so easy to go off here and off there and look at that event and try that client, and without that really laser sharp focus, and really that's the simplest method as well when you think about it. It will make your life so much easier if you're just going down that one trade. Trust me.
Thank you.
Trust me. Any more comments on that? So that's sort of visibility as well. So we're talking, so we went into that in quite a bit of detail, but yeah, really think about that visibility. Who do you want to work with? Who would you like to work with? And how can you really tailor that so you can really build your visibility and be seen as that expert? Remember, you are experts first. Speakers are just the vehicle that you use. From your expert status, you can develop your product suite. Your product suite, you can sell your products, and therefore you're making money from being in the speaking industry. Does that make sense? Good. So let's talk about identifying. So assets that you need when you're wanting to get into this industry and be seen more. So, I mean, this is quite a big topic in itself, obviously. So you want to be networking with people of influence. That's the first sort of thing I want to say. It's about your network. Your net worth is your network, or it's the other way around, but you know what I mean. It really is important to be, you know, working with the right type of people, associating with the right type of people, so that your influence grows. You need to be, you know, getting out there. You need to be doing, you know, blogging. You need to be becoming commentators, contributors. You need to be producing material. You've really got to work hard on personal brand, because that's what you're selling. It's not so much just the subject, you're selling yourself, and people want to know that the guy or the girl that they've picked to be on that stage, you know, well, they've got this background, they've spoken here, they've done this, they've worked with these people, these are the feedback they've got, this is their speaker sheet, this is their show reel, this is the assets that they've given us. You need to have all that behind you. That's sort of your packaging, and it's really important that you think that through. It's great to get the jobs where you know somebody who's got you the job and there you go, you're in and you're a gig. But if you're going to take it seriously, you need the full package, like you would with any other product that you were putting to market, and see it as a business. I know I mentioned that before, but you know, seriously see this very much as a speaker business. You happen to be the product of it. What can you create from your knowledge? And you know, it's good to create extra products, because if you can give added value to your clients, you really are onto a winner. So when somebody gets in touch with you about maybe doing some speaking, once you've been through what they're wanting from the speakers, what are the objectives you need to get out of them for their speaking. Once you've tweaked your content, you will need to always tweak your content, in my opinion. It should always be tweaked so it is absolutely tailored for that client that you are in. You need to be able to back that up then with some added value. So if you're brilliant on stage and you have this standing ovation and you walk off the stage and that's the end of it, what a waste that was. What about having some added value that you can let the client know that you also have a book, you also have a workbook, maybe you also have a course or a mastermind or other things that you can give to that company that they can buy off you, that can give further change and seed further interest in you down the line. And so many speakers don't think about that. It's like, if you want to buy a bottle of shampoo, a bottle of conditioner can go with it. You know, you just need to think a little bit out the box with it. And I know it's difficult because we're selling ourselves. I totally get that. But there is a holistic approach that you should be looking at, as it's not just what you do on the stage. It's everything around it that's the important bit. Almost the stage, the speech that's the easy bit. I say that because I'm not a speaker. But you've done the hard work. And you've got the client, and you've got their interest and their excitement, and you've delivered a great talk. And the stuff we can do about that as well, about, you know, getting into that space to feel like you're delivering the best talk of your life, for sure. So why not give them more? Why just walk away? It's crazy. So that's the other area around that piece. But I also want you to think about, you know, where do you want to speak? What stages have you picked out? Which clients have you picked out? Which events have you seen that you'd love to be on the stage for? Does that fit with what you know, with people that you know? Is that in the right industry? Have you got a list? Have you got a list of places you want to speak? Anybody? That's something to work on over the weekend.
Yeah, I'd say the places that haven't spoken so far are probably on the list.
Yeah.
It would be good to find out more at some stage, Hilary, about how the speakers who you've got on Brand Activators, how you actually, apart from booking them for gigs, how you interact with the product suite that you're talking about. That would be fascinating, I suspect, to everybody.
Yeah, sure. I can certainly go into that on another teach if that's all right. We can cover that off.
Fine.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
Yeah, you have my
Delighted.
blessing.
Yeah. Yes. So, and then it's about the assets, the brand assets that you've got. Obviously, we've touched on that. And then it comes to stages that you want to work with, events that perhaps you want to do for yourself. It's not difficult to put on events, you know, your own showcases and invite the right audience to you. Why wait to be asked to go somewhere? Why not get an audience of the people that you want to work with and put something on for them? So, you know, see events as an opportunity. It is your own private showcase. Don't be afraid of that. And there's a lot of people don't think about, they think about going to speak on other people's events, but they don't think about hosting their own event to show what they can do. So you're missing a trick with that one if you're not doing that. Look for opportunities. Obviously, opportunities are everywhere. They really are. Look for collaborations. Are there other organisations that you work with, or other speakers that you can team up with, and experts that you can team up with, who potentially can, you know, you can sort of get to know each other's, who they've been working for. Is there something between the two of us we can do together, some synergy? Nigel Risner and Jeff Ram, I know I mention them a lot, I just know them so well. They're very good at this. They, you know, they both speak on completely different things. Jeff is very much niched into the customer experience market, and he really wants to be speaking to hospitality. That's him, you know, those two things, that's what happens. Nigel's leadership, very much senior leadership, and on that funnel, but they work very much in partnership with leads, hearing about opportunities that are coming up and teaming up with others and introducing people to one another. So collaborations are huge in the industry. There are a lot of you, you know, so do think about that. Look after your clients. So many people that I work with and hear about have done the job and they've walked away. So I mentioned that a little bit earlier. Really think strongly about how you can look after those clients. I've had clients that I've had for many years, and we stay in touch because we still work together. We've got a really good relationship as well. So build relationships. Partnerships I've mentioned, and then obviously think about the assets that you need to really show off what you can do. That's really important. So speaker one sheet, you should all have a speaker one sheet. Where's my list? You should all have a show reel. You should all have a really up-to-date bio. You should also have, my list has gone, bear with me, testimonials, show reel, assets, so that you can send to clients your logo, your quotes, what people can expect to get from you, all those sorts of things. You need your asset pack as well. Okay, so that's it really. I've covered, I've got loads of notes, but I think I've done quite a lot of talking. So any questions at this stage?
Hilary, I have a question for you. You talk about keeping in touch with clients. I don't know about anybody else here, but for me, there's always a sense of, if I'm not getting in touch with them for a reason that has value for them, do I run the risk of boring them, or, forgive my language, pissing them off? Do you have a number of specific reasons why you get in touch with people, or is it on occasions purely just about picking up the phone and say, hi, how are you doing?
Yeah, it's a bit of both. It's definitely a hi, how you do, and you've worked hard to get that client, and if you've delivered for them and they've given you great feedback, it makes sense to keep in touch with them. We stand back too much as individuals, don't we, and wait, well, I'll be polite and I'll wait for them to come to me. There's absolutely nothing stopping you, you know, putting in your diary that you have just a 3-month catch up, you know, with each client, and just scheduling into your diary. Hi, how are you doing? What's going on? How's business? ... Just get the conversation flowing, and you know the conversation will come around. They'll know why you're in touch and what you do, and it will come on to, is there anything else I can help you with? How did the last product go down? How, what was the feedback? Any follow-up feedback? I've got this new product on at the moment. And unless we tell people that we have something happening or something for sale, they're not going to know. And you've already built the contact, you've already done the hard work with the relationship. So it makes perfect sense to just keep in touch with them. And when they need you or need something like they think you might offer, they will ring you, you will be rememberable. And that's the important thing.
I have a list of 27 reasons to call your clients back.
Brilliant.
I'm not sure, I'm not, well.
Put it in the group.
I'm quite happy to send it to you, but it's not, obviously it's not specifically for this, but I mean, it just gives 27 ideas, I guess, in terms of, the reasons why you could potentially call somebody and have half a conversation.
Yeah. Who sends Christmas cards? Yeah. People like receiving things.
I was going to suggest, if you're not quite as upfront as Paul, Eric, what you can do, which is something a lot of speakers do, and I do have a Christmas version of this, Hilary, but I send out an e-zine every few weeks. I make sure it's when there's something happening that I've really got something to say on, so I don't do it that regularly. But what it typically happens is that, you can open up on MailChimp and see who's opened it, but normally they will come back to me, the ones who want to talk. So they're kind of self-selecting in that way. So if you have something within your area of expertise, it's fairly easy for me because I'm dealing with communication. So I'm typically pinning it on news events and who's communicated well and badly. It might be slightly more difficult in your area of expertise, I don't know. But if you can send out something of value that they want to read, it's not a sales pitch at all, then what you typically find is that they will come back to you when it triggers something for them. So you don't have to do that nervous thing, which I'm sure Anthony Steers could probably train you out of, but where you assassinate people on the phone, because they will call you when the time is right.
Yeah.
I think the challenge with existing clients is that because you know them, it comes back to this understanding your value thing again, isn't it? I mean, I'll talk to anybody if they call me, if I think they're going to add value. If they're just going to wibble on for half an hour because they feel that they should, I don't have time for that. So I think it's just being comfortable. But if they're your clients, it's nowhere near as difficult as phoning somebody who isn't.
Yeah, don't see it as you're getting on the call to have a sale.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah. One of the things I have done, because we're all spending so much time on this platform now, whenever I run a Zoom meeting and it's finished, I leave it on. Everybody else is gone, and I record content that I will post onto the likes of LinkedIn. But I'll actually send some of those video recordings to some of those clients as well, because it's sharing what I hope they will see as a nugget of wisdom that they might benefit from.
Exactly, brilliant. So you're gifting, you're giving. So that's perfect. Yeah, brilliant. Any other questions?
So if the guy with the accent can intervene here for a moment. First,
Come
I
on,
want
the guy with the accent. We'll have you.
Who's got an accent around here?
Which one?
We've got a right bunch.
I agree with Michael in response to Eric's question. I believe that as long as you're not trying to sell people, if you're sending them information of value, something that they might find of value, then that's a great reason to stay in contact with your customers. It's a great way to stay in contact, and not just with your customers, but even with people that you want to do business with. As long as, not every email has to be a sales process. It doesn't mean that you can't include something within that email that might be of interest to them. But for the most part, I believe in constantly adding value to the information that I provide. The other thing that the big takeaway from me today is, and not that there wasn't lots of takeaways, but the big takeaway, not the little ones, but the big takeaway from me today was do your own showcase. And I'm intrigued by that idea, but I'm more intrigued on how do you, and this may have to be another session at some point, Hilary, but how do you go about communicating with people that you want to do this showcase without making people feel that this is going to turn into some sort of bait and switch deal where we're going to attend this showcase, but at some point there's going to be a big selling point to this whole thing. So how do you make them feel comfortable? Just, hey, we just want to provide you with information and invite you to attend this showcase as a guest, as a VIP, however you want to word it. But how do you make them comfortable enough to attend without the fear of this turning into a, some sort of infomercial?
Yeah, sure. Because you're going to give them something.
Right.
You're going to hook them in with something of absolutely fantastic value for them. That's what you're
But
going to
how
do.
do you convey that in a way where they believe it?
Because you're going to do it. So we'd need to figure out what it is you were going to do and how we were going to deliver it. I like the I've suddenly put myself into this job. We would figure out who the audience was, what it was that you were wanting them to do from hearing from you at the showcase, but they need to receive something of fantastic value. It could be a launch. You could be launching something so that they get that first, that they get some type of deal on that, or a product or an experience off the back of that. But it's value. It's absolute value. So it's just picking out what that is. I mean, with Casper, Casper's got a brilliant opportunity to do a great book launch, and he'll use that as a showcase because he's launching product. Go for it, Phil.
And I think the other thing is that if you're going to do something, make sure it's going to be of some interest. Make it challenging as well. If you do something disruptive, actually come out with something that challenges convention. They're going to hear something new. They don't want to hear the same old, same old. There's no point.
Great point. Yeah.
Can you give an example of that, Phil?
Ooh, he's on the spot.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think, just very simple things, like saying a brand is not a logo. A logo is just a picture. I want to expand on that. Something very, very, very simple. It can be, many people don't understand that. Brands are misunderstood. You've got a logo, you've not got a brand. And there's a lot of people out there would say, what do you mean? I paid £5 for this. It was done overnight, and this is a value to me. This is my brand. No, it's not. So you've got to come up with something. I mean, I title things like, don't jump in the bandwagon. Don't become the brand that time forgot. There's no value. Don't be an anonymous blot in the landscape. Come up with something that just gives a little bit of, shows some creativity, shows some different attitude, a different way into something. And that's what I do.
Yeah. I think you've read.
That's my problem. I never talk. I don't speak. People keep telling me I should be doing these things. That's why I'm here tonight thinking, should I do this? How could I do this? I write all the time.
There you go. So you've got some homework to do there then.
Yeah. I need somebody to bully me, like I bullied Casper to write the book. Yeah, I need somebody to bully me. Hillary, yeah.
We should have a check-in each week, shouldn't we? Yeah, cool. But yeah, be different, own what you do, create that value, and people will come. And you can be different. People want to be different. They want to be inspired. They want to, they want different. They don't want to see bland. Absolutely. Phil is so right. And, if you think that through, I'm sure you'll come up with some great ideas.
I think one thing you want to be seen as an expert in your industry, but never, ever, ever call yourself an expert in your industry. Expert is something other people say about you, but you should call yourself a specialist. Specialists are experts, but expert is from an outside perception, right?
Yeah.
An expert, but you yourself are a specialist, and that's why you're an expert.
Don't call yourself a speaker either.
Oh, no.
You're not speakers.
No, you're not. Because people don't want speaking, they want value.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, guys, well, it's nearly 8, so I hope that's been helpful. I really do. If you want any more help or advice, you know where to find us. We're all in the group, I think, now, which is great. So just do speak out. As I say, I do have a program, the RIV program, so I'm going to launch that at some point. So do look out for that, and if you're interested, give me a shout.
What did the V stand for?
V stands for, don't put me on the spot, what does it, visibility.
Hillary,
write
what's
the
the,
others
name of the,
down?
what's the name of the group?
Step
Sorry.
up, stand out.
Pardon me?
Step up, stand out.
Okay.
I had to think about that there. It's obviously getting late. And it's clearly wine time. Okay, guys, I'll let you know what we're going to be talking about next week when I have a think.
All right.
But it'll be on the basis of this. All right, take care.
Thank you.
Hillary. Thank
See
you.
you later.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.